G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
As I was saying when we were talking just before the recording here, marketing is always an area of interest for business owners who are looking to grow their business. So I know you've got a specialist area of marketing that's becoming, in my opinion, more and more important to understand. So I'm looking forward to the discussion today. I think there's going to be heaps of gold. But why don't I throw it over to you to do a little bit of an introduction into, I guess, your background and experience and what you're doing now in your business.
Sure. So hi, my name is Brittany. I'm the owner of Brittany Miller Socials, and I'm super excited to be speaking with you guys today and sharing some insight on social media and email marketing, which is kind of my area of expertise. So I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I'm a mom. I love mystery books and DIY home decor. So I am just like you, except I have spent a little bit more time maybe on social media. So I'm happy to share kind of what I've learned. I have over 6 years experience now at it, but I am very much self-taught. So you can learn too.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, it's such a rapidly evolving area at the moment. I can understand why your services would be in demand. And obviously you've spent a lot of time learning how to most effectively use social and email marketing. Tell me, what are the sort of clients that you typically find yourself working with, and why are they coming to you? I mean, is it a case people suddenly realize they need to do some social and email marketing, or are people coming to you saying, look, I want to grow my business, but I just don't know how? Or like what situation are people in when they come and talk to you?
Mm-hmm. So my favorite types of clients to work with are entrepreneurs and small-based businesses, because I find they just have such a passion for what they're doing, and I really want to help them share it with more people. And they usually come to me because they've tried to do it themselves and they're just not getting the results that they're looking for.
And when you say they're not getting the results they're looking for, is that generally measured by the number of new customer leads that they're generating?
Unfortunately, no. I actually wish that is the measure they were using, but usually they're just frustrated that their follower account isn't growing. But unfortunately, follower account's a little bit of a vanity metric. If they were tracking how many sales they were bringing in from their social media efforts, I would be very impressed by that client.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So if a client comes to you and says, look, clearly my socials aren't doing what I wanted them to do, and whether or not that's the right thing or not, we can debate that later. What's the process that you would typically work through with a client? Like where do you start and how do you navigate them through it?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I do is I'll have a call with them. And really what I want to do is get to know them and the goals that they have for their business. Oftentimes entrepreneurs are like, well, I'm not growing, or I'm not getting registrations for this course that I have. And then we take a look at their social media once we know what they want to focus on, and we realize that they're really not talking about it as much as they think they are. So we take a look at their overall content strategy and see what can be improved to help them achieve the goal that they've identified. So we do that in a clarity call. And once they've done that and they decide they want to move ahead, then we kind of dive deeper and we take a look at their past social media performance in more depth and see what we can adjust and change to help them achieve their goals better and faster.
Okay. So just picking up on that first part of the process, the clarity call, and you said often when you're reviewing it, you realize they're not talking enough about their product and service. Is that a common issue that you come across?
It is actually. I feel like every entrepreneur is worried that they're being too salesy and too pushy with what it is that they offer. And they kind of refrain from talking about it as much as they should be, or they'll subtly hint about what they're doing, but there's usually no direct CTAs, which means calls to action in the
Yep.
post captions that they're creating or in their story content. So people are hearing what they're doing, but they're not being encouraged or reminded that they need to take the next step to actually work with an individual or purchase a product from the business that they're following.
Right. So if I'm paraphrasing what I think you just said there, not enough calls to action. Is that essentially the big gap that you notice more often than not?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. And then you review past performance. I mean, I know you do social and email. Do you sort of measure email? I'm assuming that must have a slightly different way of measuring performance. What do you typically look at there?
So for emails, what we want to look at is the open rate. So the percentage of people that are actually opening the emails once they land in their inbox. Typical open rates fall somewhere between 10 to 20%. So for clients we're looking to achieve higher than 20%, that's a good result. And then once we have a solid open rate, we want to measure conversions. So with email marketing, it's actually a little bit easier to see whether or not people are converting and buying your product directly from the emails you're sending or booking consultation calls with you to further pursue services.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. So let me throw a hypothetical scenario at you, which is only slightly hypothetical actually, because it is based on some clients I've done a little bit of work with recently. But let's say we had a new business that was opening, and for the sake of simplicity, we'll call it a restaurant, like a restaurant bar situation. And they were launching this business in, let's call it 3 months. And they wanted to do a social media campaign, possibly an email campaign. They were focusing on people within, let's call it a 50-kilometer radius from where the restaurant bar is.
Mm-hmm.
How would you approach this? And I'm assuming you would start off with your clarity call. There's not a lot of historical stuff to work with.
Mm-hmm.
How would you step through this sort of scenario and where? And again, I acknowledge there's lots of information that's probably missing to be able to give a specific answer. But I guess if you were to have a guess, how would this unfold, and what could you do with a client like that?
Mm-hmm. So if there's no historical data to look at in a business, then what I recommend any business do is go and find either direct or similar competitors. They can be local if possible. And then if not, just look for similar businesses that are doing really well, kind of like who you want to be in 6 months or a year, let's say, and see what it is that you really like about their profile, what's engaging their audience, and use that not to copy, but as a template for what you want to emulate on your page. So maybe they have
It
really
makes heaps of
fantastic.
sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a great benchmark to start with because then you have a goal to work towards and some inspiration to pull from. So in terms of email marketing, I'll start with that because it's a little bit easier. I would recommend that they have some sort of incentive. So usually to get people on your email list, you need some sort of freebie. So whether that's a webinar, a masterclass, a cheat sheet, or a checklist that you give out. For a restaurant, it's going to need to be more specific, obviously. So this could be an invite to an exclusive grand opening dinner before the restaurant actually opens, or it could be the ability to book a reservation for after the grand opening, but something that's super exclusive and is really going to motivate people to give you their email address so that they get this amazing, cool thing that you're offering them. And then once you have those people on your email list, you want to be emailing them. Usually I recommend weekly, but if the restaurant's not opening for 3 months, I would say maybe twice a month until the restaurant opens, and then ramp that up as it gets closer to the grand opening day. So you're reminding people, hey, this is what's happening. We're super excited to have you in the restaurant. It'll be X number of days until we're ready to serve you.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? or you currently don't work, a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance, our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits, and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growasmallbusiness.com.
That sounds great. And just sorry to interrupt, but I mean, you mentioned capturing emails with some sort of incentive or something like that. How would you let people know about the incentive? Because you don't have their email address yet. I guess you would have to use different media forms to get the message out there.
Yeah, so I like to think of social media like casting the net. So that's what's going to help you collect the fish. And then the email list is kind of where you'd cook the fish. Kind of a restaurant.
I like that. Yeah. Excellent. Thank
So,
you. Sorry for interrupting. I was just playing.
No, it's a great question. Actually, people ask that a lot. They're like, okay, so I want to do email marketing, but like, how do I get people on my list? Well, social media is how you do it.
Yeah, got it. Excellent. Okay.
So
and then
social media strategy for the restaurant, obviously you're going to want to be promoting this freebie that you have on your social media profiles. You really want to get super specific in your bio about who you are, what you're going to be, put some of the grand opening details in there, even reference the freebie, and then include the freebie sign up link in your link and bio. I would recommend that you start posting on social media like immediately. 3 months out seems like a long time, but you need time to generate the interest so that by the time you actually open, you've got butts in the seat every night. So with that, I usually recommend, countdown posts are pretty easy, hey, we've got 6 more weeks until we open. But going deeper than that too, share the behind the scenes of opening a restaurant. I've actually come from the restaurant industry, so I have a little bit of insider info on how that works. But prior to working in there, I had no idea the amount of work that went into setting things up, training staff members, testing out menu recipes, and teaching people how to cook it. So it's a great opportunity to get some behind the scene content, photos, videos, put that up in reels, be like, hey, this is what we're working on today. We're unboxing silverware and building tables, and the kitchen staff is learning how to make this new dish that we have on our menu. And really sharing that with your audience is going to make them super excited. And then when they come in, not only do they know kind of what you serve already, so it's going to cut down the order time for the waitress staff, which helps you get more people through your restaurant faster, but it's built that excitement. And you would include really strong calls to action in those, follow us for more, sign up for our email list, tag a friend you're going to bring to the restaurant, because you really want to make this a community focus. Like I said, because you want people in the restaurant when it opens. So that's kind of the big thing. Because the restaurant hasn't opened yet, you really want to do behind the scenes stuff. So you can do sneak peeks of the menu and kind of all of those fun things.
Brilliant ideas. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Just because you did such a good job of that one, can I throw another scenario at you? Let me think of something completely different, like a business to business scenario where let's say you are selling office refits. So it's a small construction business that does office refits, very business to business focused. And let's just assume that it's an existing business. How would that sort of change your approach? And I mean, there's some obvious things, being not a restaurant, but I guess what I'm trying to dig into here is how would it be different for a business to business versus business to consumer?
So I think the big thing for that is the platform that you use would change. So as a restaurant, you're going to want to use Facebook and Instagram because that's the best way to build in hashtags to find your local audience.
Yep.
With more of a B2B model, you're probably going to want to be on LinkedIn because a lot of business owners use that platform for their business. That being said, business owners are on Facebook and Instagram, but you would definitely want to add that to your content mix for sure, having LinkedIn as a platform that you use. And you're going to need to change your strategy mostly in your hashtags. So you're using things more like small business owner, or it depends on what type of office refitting they were doing. But you really want to get specific and know who your customers are. With a brick and mortar store, it's pretty easy to figure out your hashtags. You're going to want to use like the city hashtags around you. So
Okay.
in it's like Toronto, Ontario, or something like that. So it's pretty easy to identify. But with a B2B model, you really need to think about who your target audience is and what kind of hashtags they would be using in their posts or things that they follow, so that you can use those in your content, and then it's going to show up in their feed. So there's a little bit more research work for that model, but it is still doable to reach and find new clients on social media with a B2B model.
Brilliant. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Some really good suggestions there. So look, as we sort of come to the end of this discussion, what would be one piece of advice if you had to limit it to one? And no one ever does, by the way, so you got a little bit of license there. But what's the one piece of advice you would have for a small business owner aspiring to grow their business? What bit of wisdom would you put front and center?
I think the biggest thing for me is that business owners don't spend enough time crafting their social media bio to effectively address like the 5 key questions: who you are, who you serve, why they want to follow you, where you're located, or how they could work with you, which is kind of the next one, in a CTA. Because if you land on someone's profile and they sell, I don't know, we'll use the restaurant as an example. If they're a restaurant and you can't tell what city they're in, you're going to leave, because you're not going to spend the time to go through to their website to see whether they're located in your area or not. So you need to make it really clear who you're targeting and how they can learn more, which is usually a CTA for them to click the link in bio to learn more.
That sounds so obvious, but as soon as I start thinking about it, I realize how much stuff I look at, and particularly on social media, that is actually missing, at least one of those pieces, sometimes several. So that's a great bit of wisdom. Just for those people listening along, can you repeat those 5 things, starting with sort of the first one is who you are?
Yeah, so you want to make sure you're including who you are. So whether that's your personal name or the name of your business, it needs to be front and center in your bio, and actually in your Instagram handle too, so that people can find you easily. A lot of people forget that. So who you are, what it is that you do. So like 5 words or less if you can. And I actually recommend you put that in the name line so that it's like SEO recognizable. So you'll notice in mine it says social media right beside my name. So who you are, what you do, who you serve. So if you have a specific niche, so for me, it's entrepreneurs and small business owners. A restaurant, you could include your location in there too. And then you also want to include a call to action. So again, that's usually download my free guide. You can use arrow emojis if you want, to really point out that to learn more and to continue working with you, they have to click the link in bio or send you a DM if you prefer that and you don't have a website. And you really want to share some info for them, which is the 5th one, about why they're going to want to follow you. So for me, I talk about sharing social media tips and things like that, so people have a reason to hit follow and stick around for more content instead of just perusing your profile and leaving. Because really what you want to do is convert people to social media followers and then later convert them to email list subscribers.
Brilliant. That's great, Brittany. So where can we find a bit more about you?
On social media.
Surprise. Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram. I hang out there the most at Brittany Miller Socials, but I am on all the platforms: TikTok, Thread, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube.
Right. And I'm assuming from there we can get in touch with you if we've got people who are interested to dive deeper into what you've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. You can send me a message, check out my website. You can also listen to my podcast if you're interested. I share a lot of social media advice there as well.
Awesome. That's great. Well, Brittany, thanks so much for your time. That's been a really insightful discussion with lots of great tips. And we look forward to hearing a bit more about you and following you on social media.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Thanks.
We're getting some great iTunes reviews. For those listening, please pop over to your podcast app and leave us a review.